I'm Prasad, CEO of Relo. We focus on measuring the impact of brands in sports, including adults. It's a great conference to be at. And Divya, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Divya Goel. I am the VP of Fan Engagement at Williams Racing. A little newer to the role, about 3 months in right now, so this is actually my first race. So everything this week has been a bit chaotic, but a lot of fun. As we were looking at the race, and this, my past experience is NFL, NBA, lacrosse actually as well. So really hit and run the gamut of sports, but on our fan engagement platform here at Williams, we do a lot of work in terms of everything that is fan-facing comes from my team, whether it's messaging, whether it's email, whether it's on-site, digital, in-app, mobile web. We really focus on how do we hone that fan experience and continue to extend it.
So this is a newish job, which I didn't believe that when you told me yesterday. We did our prep call, came all these projects and was going through, which is very cool. But how did you arrive at this role and fan engagement being, this elevated position in sports and rights holders is fairly new? Because I think for a long time this has just been something that's assumed to be a part of many functions, but now it looks like it's been carved out. So how did you get to this? And then what do you think the structural things are that are happening that now this type of role and team exists?
Yeah, so I think it actually probably started almost a decade ago. I think we realized the importance of email collection at that point, and being able to actually have a one-to-one connection with your fans versus a one-to-many, or as close as you can get to a one-to-one without sacrificing efficiency. Since then, though, it has evolved into segmentation. How do you talk to your audiences? At what stage do you reach out to them? Are they primed for a certain message on a Tuesday afternoon better than they would be primed for a message on a Friday afternoon? And that actually does come true. No one wants to look at their phone on Friday afternoon, surprisingly. So coming forward, or bringing this forward, I think F1 especially has been so focused historically on logo slaps. I have logo soup on my shirt right now. And actually this is out of date. We just signed a new partner and released and launched them this week. So
there's so many colorful ones all over town right now. It's on the way here.
So, you'll see the cars and tracks together and covered in logos. What we traditionally in F1 have seen is that companies are focused on the logo slap. What we are now finding out, though, is that there is a platform and a way to build these partnerships because companies now are more interested in understanding and engaging with the fan base that we currently have instead of just having a 2x4 on a car. And that's what we at Williams Racing really want to hone in on, and that's why fan engagement for us is so important, because not only are we providing a very unique experience to the fans, but we are also able to extend their lifetime value, whether it comes to our partnerships, our commercial relationships, and then extend those benefits beyond and then to the fan and back to the brands as well.
This session is called Building a Better Mousetrap. So that suggests that there is a process of continuous improvement. But at the same time, you need a baseline of data or something. Like, how do you improve on something that isn't defined? So that, I feel, is probably, again, something that is a bit of a newer concept. And then the second part, I think, of the question would be, in a dynamic sports world where there's a lot of competition for that attention and engagement, how do you look at comparing yourself to other sports, and what are you doing to break through?
Yeah, so I think for us, and again, building a better mousetrap, we are very unique in the sense that we have built our platform from scratch. All of our digital platforms are from scratch. What that does allow us to do is control the fan experience from beginning and then in perpetuity beyond that. For us, that is a very big play because we can customize what fan sees at all times. And we talk about customization is not a new concept, right? But for us, that customization means if a brand comes to us and wants to engage our 18 to 24-year-old Gen Zs only, we can create, develop, and actually engineer an entire program around that for that specific brand partner. The mousetrap refers to the fact that when we have somebody and they come to our site or the app or on the web, we have the analytics that we've built in the back end in place to be able to engage them, know who they are, know where they come from. And one of my counterparts, colleagues, who wasn't able to be here today, unfortunately, he's in our fan zone working and handling merchandise. He has been a very big savant in terms of how do we stitch together fan profiling, how do we build data to then iterate and test off of afterwards.
Right. And fan profiling, right, sounds like something nefarious, but it's actually really just a method that has been used in marketing at large, right, which is to understand all your touch points with a customer. In this case, your customer is a fan. But it's different because they're not necessarily buying something from you. Right? So what are the elements of, creating this holistic view of a fan? What are the metrics or things that help you define success with a fan?
So for us, it's a lot of A, return, and then B, curiosity from fans. We do split our fans into core, curious, and casual. Our core fans are exactly what that says. Our curious fans may know F1 or maybe a sports fan who don't necessarily know what it's about. And then our casual fan are people that come back maybe once a week, once a month to consume our content. When we're looking at that space and those fan profiles, we have built-in value propositions into our app. So for instance, if you go to our app right now, you register as a user, you get your own driver card, you can customize your driver card. We have new releases that come out from the driver card. We just launched a program for Grid Pass, and there's actually an insignia if you get your Grid Pass, which is a digital collectible, that will give you extra benefits and perks to your fandom, whether it's 50% off all Williams merch, whether it's inclusive access to driver meet and greets or AMAs or things like that. We're able to build those programs and then use those data points of I'm offering you value, give me your information in a trustworthy environment, which I think is really important. You can reach definitely using that data in a very trustworthy fashion.
So the framework is that you have a tiering of where they fit based on levels of engagement and some kind of frequency of how often that happens. And then from there, you try to you build programs that try to get them further down into the stack, if you will, in terms of being that super engaged fan versus the casual fan.
Correct, and a lot of actually interesting thing, we have a pitfall predictions in our app as well. So every week you can go in at the race week and you can test your hand at answering what you think is going to happen on track. A bit of a gamification there. What we do find is people, if we can get them to start playing pitfall predictions, they tend to come back on average 18 times more than the regular fan. So our goal to that is how do we tier somebody down? We know that if someone comes in from the sweepstakes, they come back 2 or 3 times. Interactive gaming tends to be 18 or 20 times. And then somewhere in the middle there is other content. We have regular content series that we put out as well. And some people will watch those every single week to consume, our team principal talking about our performance on track every week. Or at Racing News talking about our strategy for the upcoming week, things like that.
Yeah, so in essence, those interactive games are almost helping the sport, not just your team, because it's making more educated fans. And the more educated you are about a sport, the more you tend to want to engage with it.
Correct. And I think what's unique for us, to circle back to the mousetrap portion, is, again, we built that game from scratch. There's a lot of updates that are actually coming within the Williams app and the Williams ecosystem, where if a partner comes to us and says, we want you to build a custom game, we can say yes. It can be an over-under game, it can be a sliding scale game, it can be which helmet do you think the driver's going to wear this weekend, but we have all the technology to be able to build that from scratch, which is very unique to us. We don't rely on vendors to be able to do that. So something like pitfall predictions, we've proved out the model, we know people come back for gamification. Now if another partner wants to come in and purchase another game for us and they want to do something that ties into their own platform, we have the ability to do that and build it within our mousetrap so that we can message it out, we can control the user experience, we can move people down the funnel, and then really provide additional value.
So one of the things that came up is budgets, right? This is not cheap ever to create all these programs. You also mentioned that you've actually got now technology capabilities within your organization, which is not typical, right? Meaning that, oh, we actually know how to build infrastructure to do an NFT and digital collectible, or create digital experiences that are world class. Like, how do you go about getting that investment from the high, I guess, the overarching organization, saying, well, we haven't necessarily sold all this yet, but I would like to double my budget.
I think we are very good, and I say we in terms of the entire engagement team that we sit on, of asking why not instead of asking why. We have, and for those of you who may be familiar with Williams or may not, we were bought out by a private equity firm about 3 or 4 years ago.
Even tighter purse strings.
Sorry?
Even tighter.
Even tighter purse strings, but also is giving Williams Racing a rebirth and refresh. And what that has come with is, I will say, there is a lot more openness to ideas to build and test. What we have done is create a testing roadmap. Give us X amount of money, we will be able to go prove pitfall predictions. And now that we've unlocked this fandom and it's proving out, Goel, for instance, sponsors it within our app, and they're getting probably more value than I would say they're paying us right now for it. But it proves out that model that we can continue to do it, and therefore our investor has said, yeah, by all means, here's the extra budget that you need to go do this. We know gaming works, we know fan sweepstake works, we know content works, and now if you can prove it out with one, let's continue to do it. My boss in particular has been a very big proponent of this. Every place that he has also worked, he's built systems from scratch. And so him coming in with that experience and backing has really allowed us to flourish.
Right, so in essence, an owner in a private equity structure who has maybe hundreds of companies in their portfolio, they're very good at understanding what systems work. And so what you're asking for is not out of left field, whereas if it was a pure racing team that doesn't have that additional background, then maybe the budget question is even tougher.
That is true. The other piece of this is I've even noticed in conversations since I started here is, when someone comes and goes, oh, I wish we could do X, Y, Z. Wouldn't it be cool? A lot of the times you're going to get pushback of, yeah, that would be great, but that's a pipe dream. What we look at that and say is, well, does it make sense financially or monetarily? And if it does, then we will go scope it out to figure out what the level of effort and work is and how much it's going to cost us to build, which is something that I've never really had in a job before. It's freeing, it's also challenging.
So let's move into the next theme. The next theme is the foundation for measuring success, a topic that is near and dear to my heart. So when you mention your foundation, right, is the house itself. What are the core principles that constitute what defines the house? You can have a mousetrap in the house, but we need a house first.
Yes. So in terms of having the house, it's a place that we can continuously drive people back to that is hours and hours only. We talk about social is a walled garden. At any given time or place, they can change the algorithm and all of a sudden you're trying to figure out and catch up to where they have moved your target to. With our targets and the house itself is what value does it provide for people that continuously want to come back. We have some very aggressive goals as well. We are looking to hit 2 million registered users by the end of next year. We've kind of deemed that 2 million as a space where that makes us what we call a scalable limit for partners to open up different partnerships with people and other companies in the grid. So that's a big one for us. We also have a very high target of 1 million digital visitors. And so we are actually nearing that one right now. I'm proud to say this week has been absolutely gangbusters for us in terms of driving content to the house, not necessarily driving to social.
So you're not trying to rent the house from Instagram.
No.
Because, as you said, you don't control that.
Exactly.
And your relationship with the fan, and then also the partner who you're trying to proxy relationship build between the fan and this brand, you're not going to really own that.
Exactly. And so for us, we wanted to, it's very important to us to own everything. It's very important to us that we can control everything. And while that might sound over-controlling, it does give us, again, the freedom to do experimental things. For instance, we have Grid Pass right now, which he referenced earlier, in partnership with Kraken, who I'm actually speaking on a panel later today with them. But the program essentially is Williams and Kraken partner to give you a free digital collectible. That free digital collectible comes with an NFT on the Kraken platform. It also comes with a special insignia, badge, and helmet within our Williams platform. With that digital collectible that is free, again, I'm going to say that all the time, we are able to give exclusive Williams benefits on top of those as well. And those are the AMAs and other things that I was talking about. But that is something that, again, I don't know if we would have had the freedom to do if we were not controlling everything and it was not built in our own house.
Right. And so what you're building with Kraken, I think it's important to know, right? Because you're taking advantage of a technology that sort of took a black eye, but you're not trying to sell a Williams Racing token that is somehow trying to create revenue based on this artificial value. This is really just, if you engage with us, you're going to get this thing, and this thing is an unlock to a lot of cool experiences that as a fan you want.
Yeah, and Kraken, I actually went to one of their Web3 crypto events this week as well. And what I took from that, I learned a lot, what I took from that was, I don't think people are angry that NFTs are moving to a more free collectible basis. And Kraken's position in partnering with us is, we want to educate people about this space. And that's why we had no problem. It was very actually important to us that this was a free offering.
Very good. Okay, so now if we get into defining and measuring success, like what would be the Venn diagram of what is success in your team, and then I guess your team being your fan engagement team, and then to Williams Racing at the highest level?
Yeah, so Williams Racing at the highest level, I mean, to be blunt about it, it's on-track performance. It always is going to be when it comes to a sport like this. However, on our fan engagement side, what we preach is we do not want to be dependent on-track performance. And I think we've done a very good job of that. I mean, our team is still in a rebirth. The car probably won't get there, so to speak, for another 2 years or so, just based on where we've been in the past. But that being said, our fan engagement is better than anybody else on the grid.
Right, so it is a long roadmap, so to speak, to catch up in the engineering.
The engineering part, yeah, but on the Williams side, I think our 3 pillars is has to be revenue. We do still need to meet our revenue numbers, whether it's from fan merchandise, which again, and fan engagement, which we have opened up, unlike a lot of other teams in the grid as well. It comes from engagement, so that if we heighten our engagement and registered users, we can then increase sponsorship and commercial value. And then the third one is the data in the back end of how much fan segmentation and how we reach out and messaging. So if we want to really look at those 3 key pillars for our fan engagement success, that pretty much covers all 3.
Yeah, I mean, just in conversations at the dinner last night with some of the teams, kind of learning that 98% of revenue is coming from partnerships, right? 2% from merch. So the funding for the engineering, right, needs to somewhat come from the team, but also then the other sort of team owners, right? And that creates probably, I guess, even more pressure.
It does, yeah.
So fan engagement is a proxy for 98% of revenue, in essence.
It is. That part is a proxy. The piece we really wanted to hone in on was from merchandising, from revenue, and from fans, we continue to extract additional value when they don't have to hold their wallet out and pay money for something. And that's what we really try and hone in on in that fan engagement piece as well.
So what do you report on to partners? And now, of course, now we're going to get kind of nitty-gritty here, but there's obviously many, right? We talked about logos and the difference between stock and logo versus building programs, but everybody needs some kind of measure of success. There is some measurement that comes right from F1, but then there's much more because that measurement alone is not really enough. It's not really satisfying your partners in terms of the brands, in terms of what are they looking for to keep justifying their budget.
Yep. Historically, F1 sharing the measurement data has been more with the teams. So for us, it was really important that we built the data systems in our backend to be able to do it ourselves. And then when we are actually communicating to partners, this is where the customization comes into play. We actually got a request from our head of commercial a couple weeks ago to say, all right, we know that we have rookies and athletes in our database, but because Williams has only really had a database for 4 years, our athletes are 4 years old, right? When in reality you have somebody who's 65 in the UK who's been a fan of Williams for 45 years, and we just don't have that amount of information. So we've actually gone out with a survey to fans saying, the data is confidential, but we would love to get to know you more to provide more custom experiences for you. Can you please tell us how long you've been a fan of Williams in actuality? Can you tell us how old you are? Can you tell us, are you comfortable telling us on average what your income level is? And then to be able to take that and go back to our head of commercial and say, we actually have these sets of fans, and then he wants to go out and find companies to pitch for commercial partnerships that fall within the realm of those segments.
How do they connect between what the marketer's customer segmentation is and yours? You guys using software and kind of getting into the idea of matching profile without sharing personal information, or is it a bit more higher level than that?
It's actually very granular. As probably many people in this room do, use Adobe Stack inside and out. But what we have is built the variables and metrics in there where we can get down to, a single fan if we really wanted to target that way. Obviously not the most efficient use of our time, so it's more of a one-to-many approach. But in terms of the nitty-gritty, we can't really get down to that. I would say commercial and partnerships, and the reason why that 2 million registered user number is so important, is to be able to have a sizable audience to go to partner with. We deem that it should be around 500, 600,000, a mil, and when you start cutting down those 2 million registered users into segments, you're going to get that big of segments that we are pushing to partners. So on the partnership side, they are pushing the core casual periods. On our side, we are doing the data to give to them to say, our core fandom is XYZ, but these are the attributes which make them a core fan. So if you're going to go sell them a core fan, this is the type of program you should be creating.
So I'm understanding your definition of a core fan, and who's one of your brands that's pretty happy with you?
And Kraken.
And Kraken. And Kraken is a complete digital-based business, right? So they actually know a lot about their customer.
Correct.
So you're able to make your casual versus engaged fan align to a Kraken prospect versus a serious trader, for example.
Correct. And actually, I would say most of the people who signed up for Grandmaster Kraken, it was also important to us that we didn't call it an NFT. Because there has been some bad blood with NFTs in F1 in the past 3 to 4 years.
So that's in other sports as well.
Other sports as well.
Issues.
People got very burned. So for us, it's important to call it a digital collectible. And what you'll see actually, there's a booth that we have in our fan zone on 800 Congress. Shameless plug for anyone who wants to come down, please do. We have a Kraken booth there, and a lot of people are signing up for the benefits, but not really comprehending that they're getting an NFT, which for us, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. They know they're unlocking exclusive benefits and perks, but for Kraken especially, they have data they can marry with us, and actually it's going to be a very fruitful partnership going forward because people who are into digital collectibles are also very highly engaged with those digital collectibles. People on the Williams side are highly engaged with Williams. So we're trying to find a good subset intersection in the middle there where all data aligns, and then we can turn those people into educated crypto, NFT, Web3, while also being educated sports fans.
All right, so F1 has had a meteoric rise, obviously fueled by young and youthful fans. Lots of been said. Netflix show and building that out. It's now 5 seasons in.
Yeah.
Do you feel that F1 has sort of hit a plateau in some ways? And if so, what's causing it?
I mean, If we're going to be bluntly honest, Max Verstappen is causing it.
Being too good.
Exactly. The F1 stats actually came out a couple weeks ago, and they are down completely across the board social-wise. And it's because the excitement of the sport is essentially left. Because he's winning races by 20, 30 seconds in a car that it's the perfect match of a great car and a great driver, right? Even his counterpart, Checo, can't seem to place, but has the same car. Yeah, right. Checo's still doing well, but the last couple of weeks have not been great for him. I would say that in that sense, though, what we would like to do, because we have such a storied past in Williams, and I think the other unique thing is we only have Williams. There is nothing else competing for attention. There is no energy drink. There is no car sales. There are no, literally nothing else. We are pure racing team. So we have really honed into the authenticity. So while we see the overall fandom of F1 declining, our fandom is actually continuing to increase, which I think is very, very fortunate. I do think F1 is still going to be on the rise in the US. I think that once people upgrade and get better cars that can compete against the Red Bull, I think we'll be there. You had the dominance of Lewis Hamilton for years and years as well. But I think we need to see that resurgence of competition for overall F1 to continue to rise.
I think that's where a show like Drive to Survive is important, because you learn the ins and outs of what makes a car good, what makes a driver good, and how that kind of combination is impacting the sport. Because otherwise, it can be an impersonal sport. I think auto racing in general, right? It's a 200-mile-an-hour road running a track. You can't see anything. You can't really see the driver. So how do you learn? Because we analyze, of course, the TV viewership, and it has really sort of fallen in the U.S. this year. But that's also because there's just so much to watch now, right? With streaming platforms, and for the European football fans, you can now watch all the same big games that you only used to watch in Europe. You can just watch every Saturday morning now, and it's that early Saturday morning slot, right, where most Formula 1 races are. So do you feel that television viewing will be less of a metric of success in the future of F1, and it's going to be more about social engagement, and of course the hospitality, you can just walk around town and see that's the bread and butter, right?
Yeah.
Putting influential people together to do business.
Yeah. I think for us, or just in general in F1 and in the landscape, TV viewership is probably going to continue to be less of a priority. What we do need to get to, though, is if anyone is familiar with F1 and rights, Liberty Media owns all of the rights. And they are very, very strict on it. For instance, we have a TV commercial running right now. There is literally one image of a split second of our car going out of the garage in the TV commercial, and we were even worried that that was breaking rights. There was no viewership of it on track or anything. Luckily, we were fine. But at the same time, it's understanding and continuing conversation with Liberty Media to understand that if we release more of this content on social, and if we release more of this content on digital, it actually will probably help TV viewership.
Because they have their media company that focuses on media rights. I think I've heard some things about potentially diversifying the ownership and Liberty doing that. That might seem like the best thing for the sport.
Yes, it's a definitely mentality of all those rise in that sense. And we want to be at the forefront and have that relationship. We do have a good relationship with Liberty Media as it is, but obviously sports rights, we know MLB BAM was probably the first iteration of it, right? As you come out with BAM Tech, great for revenue, terrible for fandom. So that's my hot take.
Well, just diversifying the goals, right? As a media company, you have a strict set of probably KPIs you're driving to, versus again, a diverse set of owners and more metrics of success can come to light, which leads to better, or maybe just new business ideas and strategies.
Yeah, and it's definitely understanding the relationship and having them understand by releasing some of these rights that their value of the sport will also go up. I think that's where the tug of war is taking place right now. F1 just came to the Williams office earlier this week, and we sat down with them to chat. And things 5 years ago that they once would have been giant sticklers about, they aren't anymore. For instance, we have a lot of creators and influencers in the space that their handles are F1 Caroline or F1 Michaela, and she loves F1. Whereas 5 years ago, F1 would have been like, you're infringing upon our F1 naming rights. Now they see it as, no, you're promoting our sport, so why would we care? Which is a very different tune than they were saying 4 or 5 years ago. So I think we're getting there. I think it's understanding and proving out that increased value to the rights holders so that we can continue to take the sport to the next level.
Fantastic. All right, I think I'm out of my specific time. If there's any questions, we'd love to.
Yeah, we've got time for one question.
I need a break.
Oh.
No, go ahead, Cory. What are you most excited about for the rest of the year?
Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't think it's surprising anyway. We'll be racing down the strip, and because the way the track is laid out, our car has a pretty good chance of getting points there. For those who are unfamiliar, the last time an F1 race was in Vegas was in 1981, and Williams actually won. Williams used parking lot. So we have a good history with Vegas and F1, so we're looking to hopefully continue the success in the upcoming month.
And it's a race at night.
It is, it's a night race.
So something else.
Underneath the strip lights, yep.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.